Hello there, it's Sarah from Paper Lovely. Thanks for joining me today. I'm back with part 2 of my 25 cards 1 kit using the Spellbinders limited edition Merry Everything card kit. If you missed the first 12 cards, you can check those out in the video that I posted yesterday. For now, I'm going to jump right into card number 13. So I have taken one of those Project Life cards, this is the larger size of the two, and trimmed that down to 5.5 inches. I've left that at the full 4 inches high and then placed that on one of the panels that I created from the cardstock that was included. So that's how I have that little red stripe at the top and the bottom. I've also pulled in some of the twine that was included here. I added some of that double-sided tape to the back of this panel, and I'm just wrapping this around a few times. It's going to give me a little bit of extra texture, and I'm also going to sort of use that as a road to set my car on. I've pulled in my art glitter glue here to place down that piece of ephemera that reads "Be Joyful," and I'm going to grab some of the pop dots here and place those behind my die cut car. I'll go ahead and press that into place. For the inside, I've got a Nina panel trimmed to 4x5.25. I'm going to stamp out the sentiment "Season's Greetings," and I'm using my Close to My Heart black ink for that. I have grabbed a piece of this black and white tree pattern paper. This measures about 1/2 inch. Added some double-sided tape to the back, and I'm going to place that along this inside panel here. Again, I'll add some of that double-sided tape to the back and place this on the inside of my card base. And as I mentioned in the previous video, I have cut out the portion where I'm gluing my front panel onto my actual card base. I'm using my art glitter glue for that like I usually do. And that there is going to complete card number 13. Here for card number 14, I've pulled in this type pattern paper, trimmed that down to 3 3/4 by 5 inches. I'm going to place this on top of a panel from the black cardstock, and then I pulled in one of the smaller Project Life cards. I'm going to keep this in its full size, pop that up here with some foam tape. Then I'm going to place that down on top of the panel, just keeping that sort of up and slightly off to the left. I'm going to pull in one of these banners from the ephemera pack that reads "Naughty." And I will add a little art glitter glue behind that and place that just below my Project Life card. I wanted to add a little bit of sparkle here, so I'm going to grab some of these gems from the kit, and I'm just going to take the red ones and place those over top of all of the red lights. For the inside, I'm again on a Nina panel trimmed to 4x5.25. I'm going to stamp out the sentiment "Season's Greetings." And then I've grabbed a leftover piece of that pattern paper, and I'll add that along the bottom here. Add some ATG to the back of my panel, and place that on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card number 14. I am keeping card number 15 pretty simple as well. I've got one of my green cardstock panels. I've trimmed down this pattern paper to 3 3/4 by 5 inches and placed that down right in the center there. I've got some strips of this same green cardstock that are trimmed out to just shy of 1/2 inch. I'm going to take these here and line them on top of this gold foil paper. Just want to have a little gold edge peeking off to the side there, so I'm going to trim that out. It's maybe about 1/16 of an inch. And I'm going to create a present on the top of this card. So I'm just going to create my ribbon stripe going down the center here. And I'll trim out that little bit of extra at the top. Just measuring out here, I'm going to pull in that red bow to place on top. Make sure I've got that in the position that I like it. I'll add some ATG and place this one going across. Again, trimming off that excess from the edge. Then finally, I'll pull in this bow sticker and press that down on top. For the inside, I'm using one of the sentiment stickers, and I'm placing 2 together to read "Happy Holidays." I'm going to also pull in a leftover piece of that pattern paper, add some ATG, and place that on the bottom of my panel. I'll go ahead and place my panel on the inside of my card, and that will complete card number 15. For this next card, I'm going to create some snowbanks using this really pretty glittery white paper. And I'm going to go ahead and tear off 2 strips of that. I'll layer these together here. I am again working on a blue panel that I've trimmed from the included cardstock. Just measuring out where I want to place everything here. Once I'm happy with my positioning, I will add some art glitter glue and get those pressed into place. I then decided to trim that down a bit, so I am going to make this 3 3/4 by 5 inches. I lost a little bit of footage here, but as you'll see off to the side there, I have stamped out Season's Greetings for my inside sentiment. That is trimmed to the same size. And then I've grabbed in this rainbow stripe paper, and that is trimmed to 4 by 5 1/4. So I'm going to layer these 2 together here. And I've added that to the top of my card base. And here I'll add in my inside panel, leaving that one plain. Then lastly, for my sentiment, I'm going to add in one of these clear stickers. This reads, "Dear Santa, I've been good." And that will complete card number 16. For card number 17, I think this is my favorite from the whole bunch that I created. This one is a little bit more detailed, so it'll run a little bit longer than the others. I have started out with this black and white pattern paper. I've trimmed that down to 3 3/4 by 5 inches. Then I've pulled in 2 strips of this red glittery cardstock, and I'm just adding a little line of that at the top and bottom. This is probably about 1/8 of an inch. I'm measuring that out here on my card base, and what I'm going to do is have these kittens sort of peeking out from a present. So either they are the present or they have torn into one that was waiting underneath the tree. And I'm just going to trim into this right down the center here, and I'm going to curl this open so you can see them peeking out. So I'll take my pokey tool there, and I'm just going to roll this. Now be careful when you do this because this is thinner paper and I did get a tear in mine. I'll show you in a second here how I fixed that. But I realized as I was working here, I was going to have to trim a lot further into that panel. So I'm going almost all the way to the other edge. I probably have just about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch left there that I did not trim on the opposite side. So to help where I had my paper tear and also to make it look a little prettier as it curls over, I'm going to line with this gray pattern paper here. So I have added a strip of that double-sided tape along either edge of my tear. And then I'll also add some along one of each of the edges of this gray pattern paper. Gonna peel that away and just add this to line the back here. And then I'll peel away the backing there and press that into place. And I'll do the same thing here with the opposite side. I'll go ahead and trim off that excess, and that's going to make that just a little bit sturdier for me as I go ahead and recurl these edges, and it'll make it a little bit prettier since you're going to see the inside there as it curls up. Once I'm happy with that, I'm just going to position everything here. I'm going to start by gluing down both of the cats. And once I'm happy with that, I'll add some glue to the back of my panel and press that into place. So to hide the split in my paper there, make that look just a little bit neater, I am going to create a bow. And you will see I keep going back and fussing with this, trying to get it to curl perfectly. It took a little bit, and eventually I will add some glue dots just to hold the edges down. Here we go. So now I'm going to create a bow to place on the top of my package, and I'm trimming off about 1/2 inch strips from this green cardstock. So this one is going to go right down the top to bottom, and that'll be sort of my ribbon. And then these other 3, I'm again using my pokey tool just to get a little bit of curl to that. And I'm going to create 3 rings here, just adding a glue dot and pressing the 2 edges together. And then once I've got those, I'm going to add another glue dot in the center of each and press those together. It looks a bit funny at the minute, but I promise it will come together. So there I've got all of my loops for my ribbon. And again, I'm going to grab a glue dot, place one in the center, and then layer these 3 on top of each other. I'll add some art glitter glue to the back of my ribbon that's going to go across my package and trim off that excess. And then again, I'll add another couple of glue dots and press my bow into place. I felt like that was still going to need a little something more in the center there, so I will then go ahead and grab one of these large red jewels and place that down. Finally, I wanted to add a sentiment, so I have pulled out "Don't open until Xmas," and I'm going to place that along the bottom here. For the inside, I'm grabbing 2 more of those stickers to read "Merry Christmas." And then I'll grab another one of those cats and add that one peeking down from the top of my panel. I've added that to the inside of my card base, and that will complete card number 17. For card number 18, I'm starting with this black and white striped pattern paper that is trimmed to 4 by 5 1/4, and I've pulled in a few pieces of ephemera here. I have skipped ahead. I started off adding that joy sentiment towards the bottom there, and in the end I decided I didn't really like it. I didn't think it fit with the trees. So I'm just showing you here how I attach the trees down. I'm going to go ahead and pop up this black tree. And then I decided that I did not like the green background with the green tree. I just felt like it was a little bit too much. I wanted something to balance that. So once I get this tree pressed into place, I'm going to take my scissors and I'm just trimming just along the edge. I'm not going to try and peel that pattern paper off. It's been on there way too long. And I'll add some art glitter glue to the back and then just press this right on top of one of the red panels. I did then remove that joy sentiment, and I've grabbed in another one of the green trees. I wanted to have that cut off at the edge of my panel there, so I'm just measuring with my ruler, trimming that down, and I'll add some art glitter glue to the back and press that into place. For the inside, I'm again on a Neenah panel, trimmed to 4x5 1/4. I'm going to stamp out that love, peace, joy sentiment. And then keeping with my green and black theme, I'm going to pull in a few stars and just place those around the panel, trimming off that excess. I've added some double-sided tape to the back, and I'll place that on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card number 18. For card number 19, I have trimmed down some gray pattern paper, and this measures 3 3/4 by 5.5. I'm going to place that on top of one of the black cardstock panels, and I pulled in some ephemera here. Once I'm happy with my cluster, I'm going to add this Noel clear sticker towards the bottom. And then I will get all my ephemera pressed into place. So I'm going to start with this sprig in the back. I'll add some art glitter glue just towards the bottom, place that down. Same thing with this other back poinsettia. I'm just going to add that right underneath the flower. And then I'm going to pop up the edges of those two sprigs just to give a little bit of extra dimension. This front cluster, I'm going to pop that completely up. Place that down here. And then I've pulled in my Nuvo shimmer pen, and I'm just going to add a little bit of shimmer to the center of my flowers, as well as those little maroon flowers off to the side. For the inside, I've stamped out the sentiment Merry Xmas. I'm using my Lawn Fawn Lobster ink. And I pulled in a leftover stripe of that gray pattern paper from the front. I'll place that along the bottom of my panel. And add that to the inside of my card base. That will complete card number 19. For my next card, I decided to add some of this red striped vellum. I've trimmed my pattern paper to 4x5 1/4, and then I laid that out on an angle on top of my vellum and just ran around the edges there with my pencil. As I trim that out, I'm going to leave about 1/4 inch off to the side of that pencil mark, and that way I can wrap the edges of my vellum around to the back of my panel, and it'll give a nice clean edge. I did go ahead and line some 1/8 inch Scor-Tape behind all of those red stripes there, and I'll place that down on top of my panel. Then I'm going to take my scissors and just cut off the corners there so that as I fold over this vellum, it won't be too bulky. Again, taking some of that 1/8 inch Scor-Tape, just running that along the edges there, and I'll fold these over to the back of my panel. I'm going to pull in this bell ephemera here, place that right at the corner of my vellum, and then I've also grabbed one of the chipboard stickers that has the XOXO on it. Going to pull in some of my sticky thumb dots, and I will pop those bells up. And then press those down into place. For the inside, I've grabbed another one of the sentiment stickers that reads Deck the Halls. And I'm going to finish up that panel with an extra stripe of that holly and berry paper from the front. I'll add some ATG to the back of my front panel and press that into place. And then add some ATG and add this panel to the inside. And that will complete card number 20. I'm starting off here by trimming down another one of these large project life cards. I did not want to use the mouse at the bottom. He was cute, but what I really wanted was that "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" sentiment up top, so I'm going to strategically cover that up. I have trimmed this down to 4 by 5 1/4, added some of my double-sided tape, and I'm going to place that on top of one of the gray cardstock panels. And then I pulled in 3 of these trees and one of my die-cut cars. I'm going to get everything glued into place. So all of the trees are going to be in the background here. I'm adding those with my art glitter glue. And then my car, I will pop up with some of my foam dots. And I am very strategically placing that right almost at the very bottom edge of my card, just to make sure I've got that other picture covered up. For the inside, I'm stamping out "All is Calm, All is Bright" using that Lawn Fawn lobster ink. And then I've grabbed 2 of these blue snowflake ephemera pieces. I'm going to add those down, and then one of the extras I will add towards the bottom for a third. I'll add some double-sided tape to the back and place that on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card 21. For the next card, I'm again going to pull in some of this red striped vellum, and since I've shown you this already, I'm going to skip ahead, but I did this the exact same way, just drawing my pencil line, trimming that out, and adding the Scor-Tape and folding that over toward the back of the panel. I've pulled in some of the ephemera here, just creating a little cluster and adding that sentiment towards the bottom. I will take some art glitter glue and get that sentiment pressed into place. And then I'll also place down these 2 back pieces. And I'll pull in some of my foam dots to pop up this last cluster. For the inside, I'm using some of the sentiment stickers to read "Happy Holidays." And then I'm going to pull in a stripe of some black licorice cardstock that measures just slightly larger than 1/4 of an inch. I'll add some ATG to the back and place that along the bottom of the panel. Trim off that excess, and then use some art glitter glue to press this last little cluster into place. Again, trimming off that excess. I'll add some ATG to the back and place that on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card 22. For card number 23, I wanted to use this larger project life card, and I liked the border of this blue snowflake with the white in the center, but I didn't want to use that "A Little Christmas Story" sentiment. So I'm just trimming that out, and I'm going to place this down in 2 pieces. So I've got the bottom half with the border attached. I'm placing that on a gray panel measured to 4 by 5 1/4. And then I'm going to add this little strip of the extra blue snowflakes just along the top there, keeping that as even as I can. I've pulled in one of the sentiment stickers that reads "Jingle All the Way." I'm going to press that here into place. And then I've grabbed one of the car ephemeras, and I'm going to pop that up with some of my sticky thumb foam dots. I'll place that down here along the bottom, just using that snowflake border as a sort of road. For the inside, I'm again pulling in one of those sentiment stickers, and I'll have this read Season's Greetings. And then I'll finish up along the bottom with a small stripe of that gray star pattern paper. Add some ATG to the back and place that here on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card 23. For my next card, I'm going to use one of these clear sentiment stickers. This reads Joy, Love, Peace, Believe, Christmas, and it is in the shape of a Christmas tree. So I've just placed that on some black licorice cardstock here, and I'm going to trim this down. Let me grab my ruler. I have trimmed this to just slightly over 4.5 by 2 1/4. I just sort of did that by eye. And I wanted to add some of this baker's twine along the bottom. So I have added some ATG on the back there. Just gonna wrap this around a few times. I ended up doing it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. And then I will cut off a 7th piece here, wrap that around, and I'm gonna tie that into a bow. I am gonna skip ahead here just because it takes me a little while to get a bow that I'm happy with. And I'm gonna pop this up using some Scotch foam tape. I've then also pulled in some of the red cardstock, and I'm gonna place this down on top of that, just leaving about 1/8 of an inch border around all 4 sides. I will then go ahead and trim that out. I have trimmed down this candy cane pattern paper to 4 by 5 1/4. Place that on one of the bases made from the black cardstock. I'll add some ATG and add my little panel here in place. And then I'm going to add 3 of these gems up towards the top here. I felt like it needed one last thing on the front here, so I'm going to pull in this Ho 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 chipboard sticker. Just place that underneath my twine there. For the inside, I'm stamping out the sentiment Happy Holidays. And I'll add a stripe of that red cardstock. This measures about 3/4 of an inch. I'll add some ATG to the back and place that on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card 24. We have at last made it to the final card, and this is a quick one. I've trimmed down this black and white tree pattern paper to 3 3/4 by 5 inches. I've got a leftover piece of this wood grain pattern paper. This measures 2.5. And I'm going to trim that right along the edge of the card once I place it down, so it'll be 2.5 by 4 1/4. I've pulled in this Believe sticker. I'm going to place that along towards the bottom of that wooden pattern paper. And then I thought about pulling in a gold stripe there, but decided to go with some ephemera. So I'm going to pull in this gold snowflake and then 2 of these red glittery stars. I'll go ahead and pop this snowflake up with some of my foam dots. And press that into place. For the inside, I'm stamping out the sentiment Love, Peace, Joy using my lobster ink. And then I've got another stripe of that black licorice cardstock along the bottom here. I'll go ahead and place that panel on the inside of my card base. And then I'm going to finish up with one last piece of ephemera. I'll pull in this tree here, add some art glitter glue, and place that on the inside. And that will complete card 25. Here are a few close-ups of the finished cards. In the description box below, you'll find my blog post, which has additional photos and links to the supplies I used. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a comment or a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.